Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. As always, we are joined by our fearsome avatar, Zombie Steve. And we're actually using some power, so we're making some more charged Draconium blocks through the crafting core from Extended Crafting. And so we've got a flux point under there. And it's taking 1 million per tick, which is about all I'm letting it take. So if we come up here to our induction matrix, for the first time in a long time, we are actually outputting more than we are making, and dipping into our, a gazillion RF that we have stored up. Basically, ever since my ethylene advanced generator manual and turbine came online, we've had a surplus of energy, and this is the first time where I'm throttling this production so that we aren't actually draining our batteries. And I made the first two. I'm going to make like 12 of these. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I think you need an empty hand to take these off. There we go. So yeah, this actually is a bunch of power. And the reason we're making these bad boys is I'm trying to bust out the rest of Ender IO. And so we are working on things like the Octadic Capacitors and the Octadic Capacitor Bank, which requires a bunch of Octadic Capacitors, which required charged Draconium blocks. So I figured, let's just go ahead and blow some Draconium on this, because, what else are we going to do with it? After I close up Ender IO this episode, or get as far as I can in it, we're going to go on to Magic for, the foreseeable future. So it could be several episodes, or, 20 game hours before I come back to this kind of stuff. And so I do have... I haven't set it up for a while, but I can have the digital miner in the deep dark, getting us more Draconium. And I probably should keep that running. I've been sort of ignoring it. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that we're using this bad boy. And currently we've only got the one pedestal, so that we don't have this set up in like a huge array like the Empower with 20 pedestals. Because for now, all we've needed for the crafting core is just this recipe, which only requires the one pedestal. But it will burn through a ton of energy, so it's like doing 1 million a tick for quite a long time for each of these bad boys. At first I was afraid that it wasn't even going to finish them, but it does eventually. Go back up here. Keep an eye on things. So we're not dipping too far into this. I have this throttled because I don't want to dip too far into this. But basically I never want to let that thing get down, because I don't want to lose containment on the electromagnets on my fusion reactor that is generating 1.6 million RF per tick. So these flux points come from that induction matrix. So if that thing, sure, it's got 200 giga RF right now, but if it ever goes down too far, then we might lose containment here, and then we stop producing 1.6 million per tick, and then everything goes to hell. So I don't want any chance of that ever happening. So what I've done is, when I'm taking power out of here, I just throttle it, and whenever I'm doing something super expensive like charging these Draconium blocks, I throttle how much power can be taken out of the induction matrix, just to make sure that we aren't doing anything silly. But yeah, so I'm not letting this drop, because I'm not in that huge of a hurry to get these charged Draconium blocks. But that's where we're at there, so I'm going to continue on. I think that's the only, thing that's going to be, really sort of painful and interesting about finishing Ender IO. I don't think a lot of this other stuff is going to be too exciting. It's just going to be, you know, your basic crafting type stuff. Taking a look at all these. Yeah, I mean, this is all just stuff that we've seen before. We'll be using the slicer and dicer to make things, slice and splice. We'll be using some of these tools, but nothing too horribly interesting other than the charged draconium blocks. So I'm just going to continue on, and when I'm finished getting as far as I can in Ender IO, we will take a look at magic and plan what we're going to do in that over the next few episodes. So I'll be back in a moment. And another tech item that we want to keep moving before we move to magic is my Empowerer finished with its empowered Palace crystal blocks, which allowed us to make a huge load of plutonium. And we then took all of that plutonium, and using this fuel recipe for MOX fuel, we made 324 MOX nuclear fuel, and we have the 324 empty fuel rods, and we're going to now put that into our IC2 Nuclear Reactors so that we can get 324 tiny plutonium out, and the MOX fuel will deplete twice as fast as the uranium fuel, so that will be cool. So we've got things moving along here on plutonium finally. So I'm going to go to our fluid canner and our fluid solid canner and combine all of these into fuel rods and go install them. Be right back. And I can't remember if I've actually shown this tool in action, but you click on here to do the canning function, and then you just throw stuff in, and it takes your fuel rods and fills them with MOX and shoots them out the other side. Easy peasy. We've got a lot to make though, so I'm going to do that and then we'll go install them. And a little time in a bottle help made that go real quick, so we are into our pocket dimension to load up our reactors. I think I've mentioned this in the other videos, but this got off to a rocky start. The setup was fine, but the compact machine's pocket dimension left me a little confused. First I forgot that I would probably need to chunk load it, and then I did chunk load it and it ran fine for a while, and then I had chunk loaded a 3x3 area just to be safe. But then thought to myself, you know, if we look at the map here, this whole thing is definitely in one chunk. So then I turned it back down to just this chunk being loaded, and then it stopped working. And then I loaded it back up again to 3x3 chunks. So there's been a little chaos going on here, but I think we've got all the bugs ironed out. So as you can see, we have depleted all the uranium. We ran through 324 uranium fuel rods. That's 27 in each of these, times 4 times 3 cycles. And now we are going to throw the MOX ones in there. And currently my white lists are all set up for uranium fuel rods, so I'm going to have to change my white lists on things. So let's go. We are extracting MOX fuel rods. Oops, what am I doing here? Not that. Okay, let's back up a second. Getting too excited here. I am inserting the depleted MOX fuel rods. Depleted. Good. And I am extracting the full fuel rods. Good. And then on each of these machines, I am whitelisting insertion of full fuel rods. Good. and the extraction of depleted fuel rods. Good, good. Let's just make a quick look at this and make sure that all of our fans seem to be doing fine for their heating. And they are. We're making the same amount of power as we did with the uranium. It's just that the durability is now only 10,000 instead of 20,000. So everything looks good there. We're just going to burn through fuel rods faster for making more plutonium. So that all looks good. So now we'll fix the list here. So we are importing full ones. And we are extracting the depleted ones. Oops. Let's double check. Yep, that did its thing. So here we are inserting full, and we are extracting depleted. And that's doing its thing. And last but not least, we are inserting full, and we are extracting depleted. And that's doing its thing. Alrighty. So we've got 3 cycles of that to run through, and then we'll do this all again. We should have plenty of plutonium and plutonium by the time we come back around to tech stuff, since we're going to spend the next bunch of episodes on magic stuff. Just double check one more time to make sure everything's going good, and it is. Durability's counting down. Wonderful. I can take off my suit now. Hang it back up. On the armor stand. Get out my armor so I can get my block reach back on. I'm totally addicted to the block reach enchantment on the chest. Cannot live without it. Drives me nuts. Alright, so we're going to leave here. And I'm going to go back to busting through Ender IO, and then we will review how far I got and talk about our plans for magic when I return. Be back after a jump cut. Alright, and we are back, and Ender IO is complete. So, if we take a look, finished off Ender IO. There were no big surprises here. I knew the Octadic Capacitor and the Vibrant Capacitor bank was going to require the charged Draconium blocks, so I knew that was going to be expensive in energy and Draconium, but that was no big deal because I saw it coming. The only other things that really slowed down just busting through all of this was I had to run upstairs and collect a couple Enderman souls, a zombie soul, and a villager soul. I felt a little bit bad about the villager, but I picked a villager I didn't like, so that was okay. And so we made all this stuff. All of this imbuing souls into stuff did take up my experience, but really with the osmodium handle on the mining tools, I just ran over to my strip mine, did like a couple big vein miner strikes, and boom, I had 20 experience, no problem. So that was all easily accomplished. So yeah, we are in business. Let's take a look at the loot chests we got, see if we get anything new or interesting. Food. Another cow in a jar. I think we're up to like 6 or 7 cows in a jar now. More food. Some transformer upgrades for industrial craft. Don't really need that since we're using mechanism cables to do our transforming for us. Mending moss, we don't really need that since our stuff is all unbreakable for the most part. Charged quartz fixtures for applied energistics, probably don't really need those. Inventory upgrade, we've already had the one of those that we need. More food. Fire mill down there in that nether brick enclosure, we've already got a bunch of fire mills, and we're making all the grid power we're probably going to ever need. Prismarine, that's okay. We can, the atomic reconstructor can make us prismarine from nether quartz, so not a huge deal. Another purple crystal shulker box. Those boxes are handy, so I'll take that. More food. Another glider. Dragon fruit sapling. That would be cool. A lot of this stuff would be cool if it was earlier in the game. A random animal spawner. 8 of those. I think that now makes 3 of those rewards, so I may have like 24 eggs. We might just have to open those sometime just to see what we get. Grass blocks. That's about the worst. Okay, so let's do... Yeah, so we got 24 of those random animals. I tell you what, why don't we just open that? We got a little time in this episode still, and all we really have left to do is contemplate moving back into magic. So let's go spawn some animals. Let's see, I should do some forethought here. Oh, 2 more chests that I missed. More cave illuminators, yay. More mana steel, alrighty. So on the off chance that we get stuff that is cool and interesting, I will either want to golden lasso it so that I can keep it intact and play with it later, or I might want to soul violet so that I can put it in a powered spawner and make a bunch of them. So we'll get those out. And let's go open some random animal eggs, see what we get. Come over here, get a nice open area. And I think you just throw these, is that right? Oh, look, a draft horse. And a Havana buck, alpine kid, a peach peahen. You weren't invited. An Angus cow, leghorn hen. Getting lots of the Animania prime animals. That's sort of cool. A pea chick. That's funny. A Duroc piglet. Another draft horse. A toad. And the rooster ate the toad. That's funny. A lamb. Another lamb. A hamster. Draft horse. India blue peacock. Boy, we're just getting all sorts of crazy animals here. Huh, alright. Well, this is interesting. I don't think I necessarily need any of this. But it was entertaining. Except for the frog. The frog was not entertained at all. Alright. So, that was interesting. Leave me alone. I don't have this place fully lighted. Obviously. Because this is where I came in. This is where I got my 20 experience levels by just sort of ripping the walls apart. But that's something we could do, is I could just go put one of... I have a bunch of... what's upstairs from here? I don't even know where I am. Oh, I have this claimed because I had my nuclear reactor here. for a while before I put it in my compact room. So I wonder what's straight up from here. I'm not sure, but let's go put a cave illuminator above it for kicks and giggles. I'm wondering how many of those animals will live if we keep that illuminated and safe for them. And it would be good since that's where I go to just sort of chill and do my stuff, my vein mining. So we want to head south down there to that claimed area. See, we can turn off the light now. And this tree looks like a good spot. Boink. All right. And back home we go. So yeah, that concludes the excitement that is the main body of our tech adventure through this mod pack. So there's still a few little dribs and drabs here and there. For extra utilities, we want to finish off those couple, and industrial foregoing, we need some black hole stuff. For RF tools, we need the dimensional stuff. But that's sort of more in-game, as is the Tier 6 environmental tech. And advanced rocketry, we can hold off on that too. So basically, we're going to move through all of the, get the lion's share of all the magic stuff done now, and then we'll circle back around and get into the whole Draconic Evolution, Avaricia, in-game, Infinity, Wyvern, Draconic, Chaos, all of that mess that I know nothing about. So that's going to complete this episode, and when we come back in next episode, I will have a plan, and we will attack Botania and Thaumcraft and Astral Sorcery. And start breaking into blood magic maybe. So I will talk to you next time. Bye.